Well, good evening. It's Monday, which means that it's July 29th, I think. And it also means that this is Journal 123, T plus 118. And if I were really smart, if I were really smart, I would take the two things that I have to talk about and split them up into two different days. So I wouldn't necessarily have to wonder about what I was going to talk to you about today. However, we all know the answer to that question about the really smart part. And the first thing I want to talk about is yesterday, because yesterday was, kind of an allegory for life in many ways. We took the morning, and I took advantage of the opportunity I had in the morning to go back through my hard drive on the MacBook Pro that I use for almost everything. I've got two of them. I've got one with a larger screen than the other. The one with the smaller screen is newer, and I got it primarily because it was smaller and lighter and more powerful than the other one. But it's only got 500 gigabytes. Now you have to think about the absurdity of that statement. It only has 500 gigabytes. If you've been fooling around with computers as long as I have, I started writing programs, or at least software, for the service station that we had on a K Pro CPM machine in WordStar, and whatever their spreadsheet program was. I don't even remember what it was. And I don't remember how much RAM that machine had, but it wasn't very much. And that's when we were writing on soft floppy disks, on floppy disks that were actually floppy. And now I've got this computer, and I had just under 500 gigabytes of stuff. You can go ahead and in quotes, you can put down "see George Carlin" when it comes to stuff on YouTube. And I had all of this stuff in here, and I spent most of yesterday trying to clean it up. And cleaning it up is a lot more difficult than it sounds if you're as paranoid as I am, because I went ahead and I'm not satisfied backing up to one hard drive. I back up to two different hard drives, and I back up to the cloud, and I also back up to a thumb drive. How's that for being neurotic? And if I were smart, I'd probably take one of the two hard drives with me wherever I went. But we already discussed that intelligence quotient. Well, after spending hours backing up programs and getting everything ready, and then moving it from one disk and then to another disk and then to another disk, I finally managed to reclaim 25 gigabytes, which is enough not to get that annoying message, and to give me the time I want or need to go into other strategies for what to store and where to store it. But in doing that, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it a lot. There's a metaphor for life there. Is you're getting rid of things that you don't need, or you don't need immediately, or that are of no use to you at this moment. And you're putting them hopefully in a place where you can find them if you need them, but recognizing the fact that you haven't touched them in 6 months. I used to have a 6-month rule at the shop. My wife will have trouble believing this. Leslie will have trouble believing this, but I used to have a 6-month rule at the shop. If I didn't touch it in 6 months, get rid of it, because chances are you're not going to need it unless it's government or tax related or something like that. Legal, accounting. or medical, something like that. And maybe that's what we ought to do with our personal lives, is we ought to figure out what things are immediate and useful, and then keep them at the forefront of our thinking, and then all the other stuff, especially stuff that's negative and not helpful, in being more centered or more productive, you know, getting that to some other place that you don't need it. I have a storage unit that's filled with stuff from the shop. Now, in all honesty, I haven't been inside that storage unit in probably 8 or 9 months. The statistical probability is that I won't go back into it until I have my immune system back and it's functioning normally, because I can't imagine how dusty and nasty it's become. And I think there are corners of our minds that are like that. There are probably corners of your office that are like that. So hang on to the stuff that's useful and productive, and you know, hide the rest. Don't hide it, but put it someplace where you can access it if you need it. I did a lot of accessing stuff that had been put away in corners. I had 2 good friends from high school who seemed to have fallen back into my life, which is a delight. In many cases, they helped me access a lot of files that were hidden and have been hidden for a very long time. One found out about my illness, and I think about the blog as well, through his daughter, who is a friend of my son's and who is also married to the son of a very dear friend of ours, a couple that we see on a regular basis. And he came to see me in Duarte, and we had a really nice visit. And he went and worked diligently to get another good friend of ours from then, who was communicating with me sporadically through Facebook. One of the few things that social media is really good for, except for getting blogs out, stuff like that. And it's really easy because both of them are named David. So David contacted David, and we all got together today for lunch. And all those memories that had been so conveniently stored in some dark recess of my mind, one of the convolutions of my brain, came bubbling to the surface. And I realized how lucky I was to have fallen into their orbit when I moved from New York and I was 16 years old. Now, in all honesty, and I told them this today, they probably saved my emotional life. I was really unhappy when I moved out here from New York. I didn't want to be here. I never told my parents that. I knew that the move was the best thing for the family, so I kept that to myself, never realizing how distraught I'd become or how much it bothered me that I'd been torn away from all my friends and everything that I knew. And it was the second time that happened to me. My parents moved from Brooklyn, where I'd grown up, and had my whole network of friends, to Long Island when I was 9, and then we moved again when I was actually 15. I turned 16 a week after we got here from New York, from Long Island to California. And they saved my emotional life, I think, by my becoming part of that group. Now, it wasn't a great group to become part of. I mean, we were all a bunch of outlaws, and we didn't do especially well in school. We were, all of us, I think, plagued with report cards that always said not fulfilling his potential. I was really good. If there was a course in not fulfilling potential, I would have gotten all A's when I was in high school, but unfortunately there wasn't. So we called back all of those memories for a couple of hours, and it was nice. I think they somehow fit much better after we put them away again. But it was interesting to recognize the honesty that each of us brought to the conversation about where we were emotionally at that time, and what it meant for all of us to have each other. And I think that's indicative of most people in high school, but it was certainly indicative of a bunch of outlaws who just didn't fit in, misfits and miscreants, who just weren't living up to their potential, I guess. All of us have done rather well, by the way. We managed to thwart the concerns of all of our teachers. But it was really nice. It was a really nice lunch, and it ended. Well, it didn't end for a very long time because we, went back to my house and we visited some more. But when I motioned the server over to bring the check, she came over and told us that someone that we didn't notice, someone that was in the restaurant, had picked up the lunch check for the three of us. And we're still trying to figure out who that was or why that was. And her only caveat to the server was, whatever you do, don't let them know that this happened until after I've been gone for 5 minutes, so they can't track me down and find out who it was. So if you're watching this blog and you're, please, thank you. I really appreciate it. It was totally unnecessary, but it was delightful, and now I'm going to go ahead and agonize over who it might have been and not having the opportunity to say thank you. And then, after that, I noticed that one of my very favorite clients was sitting within 7 feet of me, 6 feet of me, and was able to say hello to them. So it was really nice, and, get filled in on how her family's doing and whatnot. So, today was, there were a lot of smiles in today's day. And it was one of the few times I didn't mind talking about my illness quite as much as I generally as I generally do, because it makes me uncomfortable. But today it was different. It was different somehow. And we talked a lot more about us, what we did in high school, and the scuffles and scrapes we got into, and how we all managed to survive somehow, and prosper and come out of it whole, and it was good. So the anonymous, wonderful, beautiful acts of others, the generosity of others, the goodness of time spent with friends, the beauty of being able to go out to eat, finally, regardless of the difficulty in picking something that I can eat and whatnot. It was all good. And I wish you all days like this afternoon. I wish you all days like this afternoon. I wish you all the opportunity to go ahead and clean up the clutter and get rid of all the stuff that's not productive. It makes it a lot easier not to waste any time on junk. So on that happy note, I apologize for this going quite so long, but you're getting a twofer. Stay well and take care. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.